wants to just like guide us through a quick little tap into our heart thing?
All right.
Does that feel natural?
Yeah, man. So everyone, get in your own comfortable space. Take a nice, soft inhale, tilting your head back. And when you come forward, hum. Take a nice inhale again. Tilting your head back. Humming. One last hum.
Yeah, so that was wonderful. We're gonna have to handle that. Is Ryan still here? Fuck, he's not gonna stop. Holy shit. Hey, buddy, we're gonna get you to go to the backyard. Is that okay? And now we're back. So, welcome to the Beyond Boundaries podcast, where we break beyond the boundaries of the confines of the mind to tap into the stillness inside, break past the societal binds, and find beauty, love, and whatever is right for you. So we got an incredible Breath Dojo master man here, the Black Airbender.
Hello. Greetings.
Yung Wylin, aka Yung Wylin Free, with the tribe.
Yes, sir. Performing tomorrow, sharing breathwork tomorrow.
Reggae breathwork.
Then we got this man right here is an incredible creator that creates these magical copper pieces. They're supercharged electromagnetic orbs of bliss and healing radiance. So thank you, Ankara, for your magic.
Oh man, it's my pleasure. Many blessings, y'all. Greetings. Sending much love out there. Ankara, the Ankh Master, here to share this breath with you all. Super stoked to be on Beyond Boundaries. It's a pleasure. We've been building for a while, and now we're in the presence in person. So I can't wait to tap in with y'all, man.
Greetings, everybody. My name is David. Call myself a heartist, a guardian of Gaia, and a wisdom keeper. And really just here to share the deepest eternal truths of wisdom that I've uncovered throughout my life. And just being a dot connector, I guess, is what people call me as well. Just like knowing how to put all the puzzle pieces together to bring people in the right rooms. And, that's how we all got here. So I was just so grateful and blessed to be here. Thank you guys for having me.
Truly, David is one special individual. He's done everything from sit around and watch / participate and actively facilitate conversations about my school, about training programs, about like everything from relationships to everything. You've just been there as like a brother from afar for years now, and I really appreciate you. The first conversation I ever had with David actually was based around some extreme detoxification processes that I wasn't yet ready to wrap my head around, and but I forced myself to wrap my head around them very quickly. Actually, the same night you spoke about all of those processes, me and Pleiades went in the bathroom and I tried it out. Yeah, oh same night. I was a little thrown off by it, but then I was like, okay, there's something here. Wow. But yeah, so I think just wanting to like say thank you all, thank you, and if we could just tap into the most natural thing. If somebody has a word that comes to their head in the next 5, 4, 3, word that comes to somebody's head, 2. Euphoria. All right, I would love to hear how you describe euphoria. And
yeah, it's for you. Euphoria. Right? So when we break words down into syllables, the individual syllables have their own contents and meaning. You know what I'm saying? But as a word alchemist, you understand that even though certain words are spelled differently, they have a similar same vibration. So, like when you spell euphoria, EUPHOR, you can also respell that YOUFOR or YOUFOUR, U4. So it's for you, you know?
I know Devon
Oh, okay.
shares a lot of euphoria with the world. That's what you do. That's what we do.
We do. And similar to add on what you said, we can do the same thing with the word breath, right? We can take all the words and make them into be ether. And that's where we all come from, the spirit, the breath, and that's how it echoes. And what are the odds you can still take every single letters within the breath and make it be ether?
You know Congo song? You heard that?
Which one?
There ain't no ether without. There ain't no breather without ether.
Ether.
There ain't no. There ain't no. Oh man, there ain't no breather without ether. Is the finale mic
Oof.
drop sound? But
Well,
There's one
there's a
before.
connection there.
yeah, so I know that we got some breathers, we got some artists, creators. I would love just like really make this less about me and like just showcase all you awesome people that I'm surrounded by, you artists. So I know we got Young Wylin. You're performing tomorrow, right?
Yeah, Liberty Haven.
That's amazing, bro. Yeah, how did that happen?
I think the universe just said, "Hey, bro, here's another one. If you're up for it, come through." And I'm like, "Yeah, put me on a flyer."
I think we should talk about how we all met.
Yeah, so we all met. Well, I met David at one of the drum circles in Miami Beach. That's before I put out the song Good Energy. And I was actually in the process of writing it. And I was actually like, my mind was like thinking of like something that I could make for the community, like something that they would vibe to, that we could vibe to, just like out there. And then I put it on all platforms. And then like 3 months later, it's like on Billboard charts. And it's still on
crazy.
like Billboard charts up there with like Burna Boy and like Wizkid.
Let's go.
Yeah. And it just goes to show, like when you said, what's the first word that comes up, right? That you said something like that. And of course, mine is energy.
Good energy.
Yeah.
No negativity,
I mean, nah. High frequency. And that's what I focus on. Like, I don't just surround myself with anybody, you know. Like, if I come and vibe with you, it's because it's like, you know, I don't know what's in my hand right now, but you know, the universe is like, yo, I think you need this. You just grab onto it. Yeah, I surround myself with good energy, like-minded people. And the Airbender, the Black Airbender I saw you on Instagram all the time before I met you, actually. And that's how I recognized you. You had the pyramid on your head. Yeah, and I was like, yo, bro. And then you showed me the scalar gun that you have right there. You saw me perform the song for one of the first times. Yeah, that's back when it was still a freestyle, though. So I don't even think I put it out yet. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
One more question about you, actually, real quick. So,
Okay.
what was like the pivotal moment where you were like, "Oh my God, this is real life"? Because I'm sure there was a moment where you're like, "Okay," because you know I've heard the song and I actually didn't realize the extent of what happened. I didn't realize I was hanging out with someone that was like on a billboard. I thought
Yeah.
the song like hit like, a bunch of reels. I didn't really recognize that. So that's badass. So what was it like the moment that you were like really seeing it skyrocket? How did that feel?
Well, it was like a slow burn, like a slow growth, you know. So every day it was just kind of like seeing more and more celebrities. Like just the other day, Willow Smith watched my story. You know, like that's a vibe, you know. Yeah, so it was like it wasn't like I woke up one day and it was just like all there, you know. A lot of like right when it first started blowing up, it takes time for like Instagram to like the whole system to go into your publishing and distribution. So it's like the money takes a little bit of time. So as I'm like watching all these things happen, I'm doing like construction work and like
Let's go.
I remember I was on a lunch break with my boss, and we we were going back to the work van, and I look at my phone, and it's Holly Berry used my song in a reel, and my boss was like, "What the hell are you doing working for me, bro? You should be out there, in California, So yeah, man, and now like everything's starting to align even more, and I just got to stay like aligned in my mindset and not like sell out for the money or anything. You know what I mean? Because it's so easy. You know, let's go to this so and so's house on Star Island.
I knew.
I'm not gonna say any names, but I've never been over there.
That's real, bro. I was gonna ask you. I was like, "Yo, they're coming for you, bro.
Yeah,
They're coming and find you. Be like, yo,
yeah,
you want to come and be part of the big boy team?
yeah, right. Yeah, man. And a lot of record labels, of course. I considered it, but the contracts just were like, contracts.
Would you share like how whack they were? Like, were they really trying?
It was mostly just like 360 vibes, 360 deals where like, for instance, it's nothing private. I mean, all of these deals are structured the same. It's public information. Let's get 5 albums out of you. I think Tory Lane spoke on this. Like after your 5 albums, that's like some of your best work. Let's say I gave him Good Energy. One of my biggest and best songs as of now, bro. Like people aren't gonna want to really hear you after 5 albums. Like like not saying that's true, but like you know what I mean. Things that kind of played out. 5 albums could be like 10 years worth of work. Like let's say it takes you 2 years before you put out a next album. Look at Big Sean. He just put out a new album like after what, a couple years, 3 years. Yeah, he's like, I don't want to do it. Yeah, man. So it's cool, and it just goes to show that like the words, the power of like words is really like magical. Even in my daily vocabulary, I tend to like say a lot of cuss words. You know what I mean? Just because I grew up, like my family was like that, but I try to be conscious of certain, like how he was saying, how you spell something, or how you say it, or how it can be spelled and broken down. Like you can spell high, H-I, or H-I-G-H. Two different meanings. But yeah, man, like I feel like what I did with that one song in particular, I just like cracked the code. I opened like, like I took my time with it too, just to kind of like not make it too educational or nothing, and not too like just ABCD rhymey. You know what I'm trying to say? Like
middle ground.
It's hard not to do that when you're trying to like speak on one topic, like peace, love, like and like holistic medicine, like throwing that in there, vibing with the tribe, just stuff like that. You got to listen to the song to know what I'm saying. But
look, bro, I wanted you to break down, if you could, as well, like each bar in that song and just like the significance behind it, because people might not even realize it just off the rip, but like you're programming people with like the highest frequency, just sneaking in there like the greatest absolute like gems and wisdoms, for people to realize their true self and their nature, of what can bring them back into alignment with their highest self, So I want you to break down, if you're willing to, just all the bars like in there that, helped bring that amount of, transformation within people.
Yeah, man. I find that I'm glad you brought that up. A lot of people reach out and say their favorite bar is the Born in the Dark, but I chose to be the light. And I think that's like kind of what we all did. We all come from like some crazy histories and past lives. you know, those teenage years, you know what I mean?
Mm.
And yeah, so I think that's what resonates with a lot of people. Born in the dark, but I chose to be the light, or people that's still in that darkness, still because that's where I got the name Young Wylin, like then I put free at the end, Young Wylin free, I thought that was kind of cool, so I just went with it, just an idea. That's what me and Mafio be saying. We come up with crazy ideas all the time. Mafio, he's a producer. He's a big producer. He works with Faruko a lot. That's we kind of work together on the remix, and we're working on a house mix actually, but that's in the works. We're holding off on that for right now, but yeah. So born in the dark, chose to be the light, and then just the beginning of it. All I need is more peace, more love, more light. Amethyst, rose quartz, fluorite. I looked into like crystals that represent good energy or love, peace and love. So those three, I found those. Oh, they rhyme. Bet. Yeah. So let's dig a little deeper. Where do I go from there? That's kind of like my writing process. I really like go off of real experiences. Like if it wasn't for those drum circles on the beach and just diving into that lifestyle and the vegan lifestyle, the plant based, high energy lifestyle. I probably wouldn't have wrote the song. I definitely wouldn't have wrote the song. It would have been like whack. It would have just been like another freestyle, like, because I actually had a third verse that was like, I kind of went too controversial with it about like how they poison the food and stuff like that. It was kind of like too like educational, you know what I mean?
You took it out?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
intended on the shit blowing up?
No, it just didn't make. It was too aggressive. I thought it was too aggressive,
So you
and a lot of cuss words.
So you keep it mostly not trying to like put it on blast. So you try to
Yeah.
take a nice. Okay.
Another question would be because I'm seeing a trend within the music industry of like Amarion, for instance. He is taking one song and he doesn't care. He'll get his producer like, hey, let's make a slow down version. Let's make a house version. Let's make this version. So question would be, would we ever hear that verse live just randomly?
It's a great question. Glad you asked. You said he made like different versions and stuff.
Yeah, that's a trend I'm seeing with certain artists because they want to make their remixes first, I guess, before anyone else does it.
Yeah, I've seen that as well. Actually, I saw one artist say that like the major artists are doing it to kind of like stay on the top 10. So let's say there's like a song that's like number one, so then they drop a slower version, a fast version, so then it's like one, two, three. So that's keeping that artist at the top, kind of like keeping other artists from reaching the top.
So
I think we should give the dog a microphone. He's in the background.
Sometimes because those dogs got going. I'm trying not to laugh.
Yeah.
So do you feel that kind of stifles a little bit in terms of creativity? Because now it sounds like it's coming from a marketing tactic than an artist
It's
tactic.
Another marketing tactic. Here today, gone tomorrow.
Yeah,
I mean, sometimes you gotta think outside the box, and that's all that is. Somebody trying to, you like monetize as best as they can, because a lot of labels are kind of closing shop right now because of all the independent artists kind of figuring out the strategies and the systems. And it's all about who like your connections. Kind of like in the streets. If you know the plug and you got a good relationship with the plug, you get that price, and you can then profit more,
Some major producers will just give someone a beat just because they like them. Like, hey, you don't have to pay me anything, just use it.
Yeah, I did the remix with Faruko. We had an amazing deal with that. Shout out to Sony Latin. And then as far as radio too, I'm on the radio everywhere. Just that, actually, the new song is I was at the station earlier today actually with Mikey Mike on the I radio, Voice of the Caribbean. It's like an island radio. So yeah, people, have their ways of paying for everything, and that's just not what I do. Not that I do everything for free. I do pay for a lot of things.
Exchanges are happening.
Yeah. There's always an exchange of something, energy. You know what I mean? So yeah, man.
Fire. So one of the things in the realm of remixing that I've noticed, in the reggae world, for instance, let's take jamming, for instance, the instrumental from jamming, right? We call it rhythm, or like the rhythm, like let's say jamming rhythm, Bob Marley's jamming rhythm. Let's say Vibes Cartel, or You Hop on It, or You Hop on It, whatever, right? A DJ, the thing is, a Jamaican DJ, can take that rhythm and gather around all the different versions, and just, you'll hear like a whole hour of the same rhythm, but different people that made different mixes with it. And, looking at that, we were playing around with remixes ourselves, and we're like, hey, you know what? I wouldn't mind making like 6 different versions of this one song that we continuously play on repeat over and over, and we can send it to different artists and stuff. And I'm like, why don't most producers have that mentality, in the sense of just opening, the instrumentals to be remixed on or hopped on? To me, it's free advertising in one way, especially in the reggae world that doesn't get enough advertising, and somehow we still go global with it and make an impact, and still get all those a global influence of people to just come to a tiny island just based off the music, and we don't get enough recognition for it in that regard too. But I just wanted to let that be known, because it's super important to have that familiar sound, and I think at least in the reggae world they're very good at that, in sense of you'll go to Japan, you'll hear a different language, but you'll still hear the Jamaican rhythm, and that's what's low key bringing everyone back to the same spot, where that producer is producing for 20 years the same type of rhythm, and you hear it all over the country, all over the world. And I think that's important, playing with that palette, that aspect of not limiting one version of your music, because in reality everyone has a different version of your same music, but in their own different, unique relationship type way. And I feel like one artist that also comes to mind is Ko, and he's now known as Yuki Chaiba. And to me, I felt like it was very important that he should have been part of the 50 years of hip hop. Because I'm like, 50 years of hip hop is really cool, but what about all the other international influences that low key kept hip hop alive? That brought Nas out to random countries, and Nas is like, damn, I didn't know I had this many influence like that outside the US. And I think that's super important.
Yeah, that Distant Relatives hits way different. That was like my childhood. And you got something to say?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was just going to say, music is just a universal language that connects people from all different, cultures. And it's just like such a powerful medium and way to express, and everyone has a voice inside. Everyone has a message to share, and when you're able to empower people in that way and just show them, that they can unlock that voice within themselves, like that is the greatest medium for transformation, that any individual can tap into. And it's just like so powerful that like we're able to, each in our own unique way, whether it's through the breath, whether it's through the sound, whether it's through, the lifestyle choices of the diet, just giving people all these different mediums and ways and how to connect within that divine nature that exists within them, and realize like the power that each of us hold. And society has just really done a good job of just getting people to be conditioned to stay away from that, because our creative potential is what harnesses that ability to really, to tap into that infinite, unbounded beyond boundaries, nature, inside of us. And like when you're able to break beyond those boundaries, it's like there's literally no stopping what that potential can do for you, and for society. And we're coming to a point now where we're realizing in this planet that if we don't do that, then the implications will be, what we're seeing with the climate, what we're seeing with, the political sphere, the economy. Everything is just changing rapidly right now. And like this eclipse as well that we're about to see on the 8th is going to be a huge marker, and for the collective consciousness to realize, if we're going to choose to embody that truth of who we are and what we've always known to be, the power that each of us hold, and expressing our truth and not holding back, then we'll see a new rebirth, for humanity. And we'll see that ability for everyone to be able to, live their highest potential, live their highest dreams, and realize everything that's holding them, everything that's holding them back, and just be able to let it all go, So that to me is like the greatest thing that I feel like I could ever possibly give to somebody. And just by having that, there's no stopping, the evolution that's taking place on this planet right now. And we're each playing our part in it. So it's so beautiful to witness.
Yeah, that's just so adequately put. Like, it's amazing, bro. The truth and the whole everything you said comes down to this one thing, and it's really just authenticity. If everyone was to be able to show their different flavors and versions and sounds of the same song, which the song is themselves, they're able to sing that song in all of its variations and all of the most authentic, true expression. That's the conditioning that people have been brought away from. Like, I was playing with the baby today. The baby's like scrolling. I'm like, oh, ouch, the baby's scrolling. Oh my gosh. So, what are you doing? So that's the type of stuff that really makes it to where we're not capable unless we, of course, tap into the infinite potential which is within us ourselves, and there's never stopping that from showing its head, even if you went through terror, trauma, whatever you've been through, enslavement, tragedy, it doesn't matter. Like, straight up, like murder, like seeing someone die in front of you, like crazy, like you can still, no matter what kind of conditioning, bring what you were speaking out and your flavors of it out, and that authenticity is what will heal the world. And I wanted to just drop it with this. It's like they said that there was a study done. I haven't read all of the specifics, but I'm sure you would actually know that there was some tool where they measure your frequency, your hertz, or maybe it wasn't your hertz, but it's just somehow the vibration that your body is emitting. And they found that even just loving compassion from a heart-centered space was a lesser vibration than being completely authentic. And I thought that was like such a cool thing, that authenticity is like love in motion. It's like love and compassion, but emotion, as you were saying earlier, we were saying we're all channels, really. Like you, every single human being on planet Earth. People are like, oh, I'm a channel. Like, yeah, you are a channel. And so is like everybody that lives on Earth that breathes, because we can all channel that love. And yeah, I think that's what I got. Would anybody else want to?
Yeah, I just wanted to dive into that, that topic a little bit deeper, because I think that's important to understand your own uniqueness, your unique expression. And I see it like I'm really into the crystal kingdom and how those reflect certain, teachings to us. But crystals are multifaceted. There's many different faces and angles, of one crystal. So it's like each one of us has our own unique reflection of the light. Like, whether we're a singer, a freestyle artist, or, an airbender, or, an alchemist, like, we all have our own way of expressing that uniqueness. And what it does is it inspires other people to harness and tap into their own uniqueness. And that's what we're really looking for, because if we're just like trying to be like somebody else, it's like this cookie cutter sameness, and there's no inspiration in that. There's no aliveness in that. So I think part of the key for the listeners is to really tap into your uniqueness and find that through inner meditation, inner exploration, not something you're going to find out there in the world or out in a religion or a culture or in the government. You're going to find this within. And when we shine the light in, we get that multi-prismatic reflection, So just wanted to, inspire and encourage a little bit about that uniqueness.
Inspiring the courage and uniqueness and the multi. You made me think of a mirror. How a mirror. You ever been to the House of Mirrors where there's like a bunch of mirrors and there's just one mirror where you can look for infinity into it and it just looks so real? Well, it's just how you were saying is that our reflection is just putting infinite depth into all the other mirrors. So, for example, somebody like Black Airbender, I'm sure that you've deeply impacted people where the depth of that reflection inside of them has just been such like a profound thing. And same, of course, like as you guys know, I'm a fanboy for Illuminati Congo. He has just been such like brought out so many deep revelations, and as we're all crystals and suns reflecting the same light, it's so interesting how everybody's song, the Gita of life, everybody's light or their shape, their geometry, it just brings such a unique thing. And when we bring the authenticity through, like you said, having that centered heart, that centered breath, that connection to knowing, not believing but knowing for a fact with undeniable proof that there is a force of love, a force of consciousness, expression, expansion, authenticity, channeling that's here and very real. And I found for me that was the biggest driving force is how can I heal myself and then forget about healing and remember my truest self, which is to love and be in constant active devotion to all of the crystals around me, like crystal, like, and just love all of you and like seeing your reflections sometimes when I'm a dumbass and like know when I'm a dumbass and be like, I'm a fucking dumbass and I'm sorry, So, yeah, anyone else want to say something?
Yeah, so you were, and speaking on like, like the love and like everything being high frequency and authentic. There's also like people in the world that like you got to stay away from because they're like totally disconnected, from themselves and from the world, like from that state of mind, like they, we all know those types of people, like, and it could be anybody from any walk of life, like whether it's their vibe or just how they do business, their morals, their principles, if they have any, or and, and if they align with what you stand for, or like things like that, which is why in my business life, I try to stay aligned with like the messages that I put out, whether it's good energy, whether it's like I have a song I'm working on right now called Island Girl. Well, I might just call it Island, but it's about an island girl, I could give y'all a little preview off camera at some point. And yeah, so like no matter what the vibe is, I always like I would never like so I got a sponsorship from a natural energy drink company called Garden of Flavor. Natural energy drink, superfoods, all that, fruit juices, nothing, no concentrates or any of that, or byproducts, and it's vegan, of course. I mean, it's fruit juice. I don't know how you could unveganize that, but I could have went with like Monster or Red Bull. But when I drink that stuff, I get sick. When I drink the last time I drank Monster, I felt like I had COVID. like yeah, it felt like.
You drink liquid death?
Nah, I mean, why would I?
I don't know monsters.
Yeah.
Wait, is it?
Did you drink liquid death?
The three lines from like Rob Deerdeck, like you see back
Yeah. But now, see, someone like Rob Deerdeck probably isn't thinking in the in that type of space. It's like Monster Energy, yeah, dirt bikes, rollers, you know. Yeah, like they have a dope monster dirt bike. I might do that. It's just a logo on the bike, but it's like made for racing. It's like 450 cc's. I might do, but like as far as promoting an energy drink, like as the drink itself, like hey, drink this, consume this. I would rather not throwing shade on them, but like something natural, something up and coming, helping somebody build their business, doing something like healthy. Yeah, bro, I'd rather be on that vibe, And now they're in like Whole Foods. They're growing like several Whole Foods. I don't know if they're in like every location, but that's the grind. Yeah, come soon. Yeah, eventually I'll have my own drinks and all kind of products once I build that team up, right? And I mean, I think we could create something together. We put some ideas together, because I don't, I'll let you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's just so amazing how we have just all these incredible, products that we were just drinking in our smoothies today, which I'm sure like has probably got you feeling much better than it would be from like a Red Bull or a Monster,
Yeah,
like
definitely.
this is the masterpiece, drink that we were showing before, which is basically, like marine plasma that we were saying. Like when you look at basically some of the studies that were done, they had one in particular where there was a dog that was like completely drained of all of its blood, and it had been basically to the point where it was dying, and it had actually reached that point where it was dead, and then they gave them this marine plasma and they infused it into the body of that dog, and then it just came back to life completely. So it shows you that when you're consuming things like this, the marine plasma that comes from phytoplankton that are basically extracted from the ocean in very controlled ways that does not actually disturb any life forms. It's completely natural, all organic, vegan, and it just doesn't have anything that would harm mother nature, but it's using those principles, that of that life force, that plasma fluid that exists within all of us, that you can actually give yourself, a true energy drink, whereas like
Yeah,
Red Bull is just like,
I have a
giving you that
question.
false sense of a true energy drink because it comes with the crash at the end. But this is actually sustaining and lasting, will carry you through, your day and your whole life, to reach that longevity. And like, for example, with the supercharged longevity elixirs that we have with, monoatomic gold, colloidal silver, ormus, nano diamonds, and all of these different, ingredients as well. Like these are metals that, and ingredients that basically the ancients have been using for thousands and thousands of years. And they knew,
That's
that,
awesome.
yeah, the secrets that,
Shout out
yeah,
I actually had a
Tibetan
couple
pharmacy.
drops earlier.
Tibetan pharmacy. Those
Yeah.
are my people right there. You should
Yeah.
tap in.
Absolutely. And, just like all of these different solutions that we have to combat, all of these viruses and sicknesses and diseases that we're being faced with. And who knows, God forbid if there was ever to be another, pandemic or anything like that. But knowing that like these are the greatest solutions that we have, and I'm just so grateful that I've been able to come across these for and for the past 5 years have not been sick once, because it has that ability to remove any of the parasites or any of the bacteria that's harmful or the viruses, and it just completely neutralizes it. So, just
I think I need a
helping
couple more
people.
drops after that introduction
Absolutely.
of that. I mean, send me a bottle.
We got you. Oh, of course.
Japa Tibetan Pharmacy.
Yeah.
You had a question?
Oh yeah, I just had a crazy question. Thought I would spice it up. Do you think we could live for like 1,000 years? With this technology, and because you mentioned the dog, right?
Yes.
The dude died. It got filled up with the plasma and came back to life. Like just consuming stuff like that. Could sound like it could extend the lifespan. Like I'm just going like 1,000 years. What about like forever? Like
Yeah, absolutely. Even just considering even substances like the shilajit as well, like that the yogis, the ancient yogis have been using for thousands and thousands of years, that come from these places in the mountains where there's like no traces of that pollution that, has kind of caused, if we look at the soils today, all kinds of, pollution that gets into those soils and prevents us from being able to get all the nutrients that we need. And these yogis, they just came to a place where they eventually used these tools, and everyone has the ability to do this, and if you come to that sense of mastery, then eventually you'll get to the point needing to consume less and less and less, and then just being able to live off your own life force. And I feel like Airbender too has a lot of experiences like that has, I'm sure you would love to speak on, in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, particularly there's a spot in Burma there when you go there. There's people living to 200 years old.
You said you saw them?
I have a monk friend that goes to Burma, and you can walk by. Hey, can you show me that someone that lives 200 years old? They'll know someone in their on the back of their hand.
Right.
They'll tell you someone living 200. I think Burma also just opened its doors, so you can now go visit Burma.
But I mean, like, do they look?
They
Like
they,
a
they look
giant
like
raisin?
they still look moisturized and yeah.
I've seen like good energy.
You
see those like 120-year-olds.
Have you seen 1,000-year-old? Have you seen 1,000-year-old?
Nah. Well,
They
maybe.
exist.
They exist.
Yeah.
Maybe we just didn't know.
Yeah,
No, they
true,
exist.
True. You might have met one. You just didn't know. They might be
That's true.
a transformer.
There's a dude I know that has he's like one of the oldest living dudes, and every time he shows his driver's license, or like he has to call an office to show them it's real and all that stuff, to the point where he doesn't go out anymore. He's like, I don't know where,
I
but
heard a story.
yeah, it's similar.
Did Greg Graydon?
Maybe, I don't know.
Imagine you're the oldest dude and they still ID you.
Yeah, that's what.
Sorry, bro.
Yeah, that's what he's going through.
Yeah. Like you're under 21.
There's a
Oh yeah, the real Benjamin Button.
Humboldt. You know who I'm talking about? That little Russian kid.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah.
Yo, I thought that was a kid.
So how old is he?
Right, he's like 30 and he's like shooting guns, but he's like a.
Wow.
That's like 8-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, like
Like a freaking
3-year-old.
newborn.
Yeah, that's crazy.
there's a lot of examples of physical immortality, right? Even we talked about Illuminati Congo. He authors a book called Physical Immortality, and he shows examples throughout creation of different beings that live eternally physically in physical reality, yet exist eternally. But really, this precept, I would call it, not even a concept, but a precept, eternal life. That's what the symbol of this Ankh is eternal life, right?
Yeah, these will never, fade. I mean, I don't know.
Right, but it's a symbol for the fact that death is an illusion. Death is not real. And so we are eternal beings. We will forever live on eternally.
And even if you don't believe that, I mean, for instance, you go on YouTube, you play somebody's music that may have passed away, you're still technically playing their voice, their energy. They're still low key living on. That essence is still there.
That's the whole concept behind ancestral veneration, is that as long as you can say their names and call the ancestors and remember their work, they actually are still living. You know what I'm saying?
And I want every artist out there that knows the process of making intentional work, right? And how long that takes, right? Right?
Yeah.
So imagine whenever someone's playing your music and you're not here, they're still invoking all that energy you took and prepping and putting in that one track. That's what they're playing. They're not just playing a song. They're playing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, your whole vibration is right there in the room. When someone listens to your good energy track, you know what I'm saying? That vibration, like, And now that's resounding. Like when you hear that on IG or wherever you hear that tune, it's a vibration, you know what I'm saying? And it just puts you in that vibe and your frequency, because your unique voice has a unique frequency signature. Right. So when people tap into your music, you actually become alive in the room, even just with your sound frequency. Your energy is in the field in that space. So as long as people listen to that tune forever long into infinity from now, as long as we got music, we can hear Yung Wylin free, right? Yeah. Busting the good energy. So that's these concepts of eternity and eternal life there are physical examples of it, you know. So I just wanted to like tap into that, because that's really what the Ankh energy that we're all rocking is about, you know, is that eternal life.
There's a jellyfish that can literally reverse its age over and over.
Having sex, it goes from old to young.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
What a life.
Yeah, yo, and like just so many things that everyone just said inspired so much within me that I've been wanting to share. So I'm gonna try to just say this in the most simple, digestible way. So in terms of the sound vibration, all right. So right now you're observing whatever you want to call this talk on your cellular device or a laptop, and somehow there was a memory of what once was, which is right now, that's been placed in a box in space that has all of the high definition evidence and fully encapsulates auditorially, visually, and vibrationally, because I know you feel this in your heart, in a cloud somewhere. So here, right now, you're watching this later then in a cloud. Right now, this camera is absorbing waves and sending waves and receiving waves to even pick up all of this. And then the electromagnetic EMFs to get to your phone. Somehow there's a tower somewhere sending more sacred geometry to your phone, but within your phone there's electrical signals that are being perfectly conducted to make it to where on your screen this exact moment is displayed perfectly in every sensory way in front of your fucking face.
Through a crystal.
Through a crystal, yeah, and copper and gold in your phone. So,
Yeah.
so check it. So right now, as these words, all the words, imagine here in my face, there's projecting out sacred geometry. And hear me out. I know this may sound a little bit crazy, but back to the physical immortality. When we learn beyond physical food, beyond physical, like you were saying, living off less, like you could have less and you can also become masterful at directing your own body's electricity to heal itself on command, because we have stem cells and we have, you know, many fuck stem cells, we're electricity, so you can activate whatever the real thing inside of you that's the healing frequency from the electricity by through our intention, attention, and focus to sending this geometry and vibration and magnetism to whatever part of our body to regenerate itself. And then same thing through the words, we're programming our whole, so that good energy, I don't need no negativity around me, yo, that's just playing from here until forever. And there is geometry that's not visible to everybody, but some people can see it, pumping out in the form of what we would call sound out of a box that has a phone that's sending signals to it. So point being is every single sound you've ever heard is actually just shapes through waveforms, and you think you're particles, but really you're just a bunch of waves that's picking up the waves from the sounds. Anyways, that was my tangent. I hope you enjoyed
So
it.
question, what sound?
What sound?
What sound? Is it air particles mixed together to create a vibratory resonance? So are you telling me we're inhaling music when we play it and it's becoming part of our body? And that's the most grounded way to bring it full circle as well. If anybody's out there struggling to make this make sense, take it breath by breath. Can you feel the breath as you inhale? Can you hear the music? But you're still inhaling, so technically you're inhaling the music as well.
Sound is movement.
Yeah.
Friction. I don't know.
It's still particle waves, friction, and you're inhaling that. Like for instance, like when you're on stage, right? You feel the heat that's one coming from all the instruments, the lights. Like yeah, go over the vibration when you're on stage. What's that like?
Well, first you have to overcome your like fear of public speaking. Figure out what you're gonna say. That's what I do, or I just freestyle. Like, yeah, let's go. Yeah, and what were you saying?
Yeah, so basically we're going over the concept that we're breathing music. When we turn on music, we're inhaling, exhaling music.
Oh yeah, it's a constant when you're on stage. For me, I'm constantly like focusing on how I'm breathing. You know, making sure I have enough air for the next verse or the next word or whatever, and how I project to hit a different note, go higher, lower. Like that's that's just like a natural thing. Like we know how to do. I mean, it's we all know it. I don't know what I'm trying to say here. Like, so yeah. So my theory is like I said, sound is movement. Like even if you sit still, like the world is moving. There's like sound somewhere. Your blood is moving. If you cover your ears,
Still
you
moving.
can hear the flow.
Yeah.
So yeah, let me get a TED talk real quick on sound. Yeah, man.
If I could add one more thing to that, I really want to just emphasize, and that it's just so beautiful the way that you put that because, with the power of sound, and I'll just speak from my experience, like the impact that music has had on my life, like I mostly listen to conscious hip hop, but you know, hearing from all these different artists that, like, just want to shout out like Free Soul, Illuminati Congo, or The Prophet, Dizzy Wright, like all these amazing artists that have basically shown, through just by being shining examples, what we can actually achieve for ourselves, by just harnessing that power. And then for myself, like, have me been able to gain that inspiration, I was able to then, you know, feel like I could go out and create whatever I wanted for myself. And then, going and moving to the tropics and moving to Ecuador was actually the first signifying moment to where I realized what that could do for myself, and just like actually being able to go on, setting these goals for myself. Like I want to be able to remove all the parasites from my body. I want to remove like all the the plaque and all of the toxicity from my body, and then being able to go on like these extended fasts. Like the longest I'd gone is about like 25 days, and then done cleanses with the Zen Cleanse. I just want to shout them out because they're just the most powerful brand that I've come across. That essentially you take one of their cleanses, and then all the mucoid plaque and gallbladder stones and like kidney stones, like all of that can just be completely removed. And then the sound is just like the anchor, and that keeps you in tune with the rhythm, like the heartbeat, that like that's what that the music like brings us to, that universal heartbeat and that rhythm that keeps us in the flow state. And that's what has allowed me personally to be able to go on those journeys, to do all those fastings, and then working with certain plant medicines, like when I was out there and I journeyed with ayahuasca and being able to work with these indigenous shamans, that for generations and generations had been able to harness the tools of Mother Nature that have been provided to us, and that are just the absolute best teachers that we can possibly use in our journeys, at least from my experience. And that Mother Nature always has the best solutions that are available to us. And and that they also harness that ability through their Icaros chants that they do, that essentially are the sounds of those plant medicines and of Mother Nature speaking through them. And that's what guides the journeys, and allows people to stay connected. to Mother Nature in that sense. And it's just so powerful what it can do for the planet and for ourselves. So I just wanted to emphasize that.
So, keyword you said inspired.
Yeah.
So the musical vibrations that you heard from all those people, you literally inhale that and you digested it inside your body,
Mm-hmm.
and then as you make music, you're bringing along that energy as well, and you're putting that vibration into sound, air, etc. It's just echoing back and forth, and that's what music does. Music makes us what? Feel alive, right? And if something is dead, they're what? They're not breathing. So if something is not dead, they're not also animated. What makes something animate? They're breathing. You can't have music without breathing. You can't have it. Even if it's digital, you still need a human to breathe, to press a button.
Yes.
Now we got AI coming
You can make pretty fire AI music now.
Yes, you can. Yeah, I've been playing with it.
Yeah,
They were breathing and making AI out of what? Earth material, because all the computers come from Earth material.
That's what I was gonna say.
Isn't that the irony of it?
Yeah.
It's natural. People say, "Oh, it's like not no, it's natural." AI is natural, y'all. We should use it for our benefit, for our expansion, creation.
And it's an extension, of the human consciousness and whatever we program it with, and if we use it in a conscious, responsible way that's ethical, then it can actually be one of the greatest tools for transformation. And that's why we have the ability to use, these AI systems to help us write, the most eloquently put statements, for, whatever projects that we have going on, that can do it way better than a human ever could. And it's just about what you program it with. And we each have there's certain softwares that are out there to where, you can input all of the data of what you use for whatever type of creative endeavors or projects and things that you might have throughout the day, like your notes, and then just inputting all of that data. And then it just gives you, just almost kind of like a oracle, just to show you how to harness those gifts and how to use them to the highest potential possible. So, that's what I think is
ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Coming through with those IG bio captions.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, if I'm struggling for a caption or because instead of just putting one thing, you have to structure it in a way you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or if I'm responding to an email, like a business email, bro, ChatGPT will chop it up and make me sound like a paralegal, I went to law school, I think it's those that medicine I took. It's I'm focusing on a lot of different things at once. You know what I mean? Got a lot of flow going on. So yeah, bro. I just wanted to touch up on whatever I was just talking about.
Yeah. You got it.
To add on to that, we're gonna get to the point where we can use AI to communicate with animals. What's next with the animals? If we're now going to be able to communicate more with animals, I think that's going to have a huge shift on humanity at that point.
Now, first of all, well, just to bring it up, there's been cultures that could communicate.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's the native Indians or whatever, Native Americans, or even out in Mexico, there's sayings that there's shapeshifters and people can really communicate with animals or what do they call them? The sorcerers with the birds and the ravens and stuff like that. I don't know. That's a little more darker, medieval times or whatever.
Well, it depends, because even witches apparently came from herbalists. They were known as the witches, and then they got tainted in so many different ways.
Propaganda.
Yeah. That's how they do it.
Yeah.
And to add on to what you're saying, you see how the ancients were already doing this, right?
Yeah.
And we're using quote unquote AI to quote unquote get to the point, but it's showing AI is literally showing you excuse my language, but the no BS that's low key just been here while we're doing whatever we're doing, but it's showing you that, hey, there's actually science to what all these ancient people's been doing for thousands of years. And what if they low key had AI at one point and then it just, and then here we are again, right? But it's beautiful that we also still recognize that we can tap in to those natural sources. Because in general, the number one thing I learned in Cali going to all those science expos was, and we're talking about the real scientists, where the NASA people that literally go to movie sets and write certain scripts and such. We're talking about those people that will tell you that every technology known to man is based off the human body. Every technology you can think of, every technology you will see in the future, it all comes from the human body. The eyes, camera, phone, listening, it all comes from the human body. And who's not to say when the atmosphere was way more plasmic and electric, etc., don't you think a thought has more conductivity in terms of sending to another either place, or we could use all those ancient scalar temples and churches that literally look all the same in all different regions of the world. What do you think they were using? They were maybe using it as a communication hub and utilizing the energy to communicate with sacred geometry, since they're all the same, or utilizing the same bandwidth based on geographic location, which is also a major key. And we're also seeing that being played in the solar eclipse that's coming up. So people are starting to realize, hey, all these natural phenomena, they have history, they have guidance, and they have an influence of how we perceive our reality and how we communicate as human beings. So I think that's super important.
So I just have to say, like, that is just such a powerful, statement right there, because it really just shows, like the earth grid, has throughout like all of humanity's history, all of these, sages and yogis and even the witches and whatever type of force, whether it's good or bad, they all knew about the power of the earth grid and the ley lines, and the structures that have been inputted, almost like how, if you think about like the human nervous system and how we have like all of these different nerves in our veins that connect to different energy points, the same applies to the earth grid as well, because as above, so below, with the concept of scalar invariance, like whatever you see on the smallest scale is also what you would see on the largest scale. And, these forces, with the governments, like they strategically input all of their, buildings for like the Pentagon and like, the White House, and like all of these different places are put on these ley lines, and then they're using that to harness that energy for whatever their purpose and intention is. And all the churches as well, the treasury, the financial system, all the banks, they're all, yeah, everything is strategically put there. And it really is, because before then as well, like with Tartaria and with like these other ancient civilizations, especially in ancient Egypt as well, they were aware of this knowledge, but they were using it for the complete opposite, which is like for the upliftment and the liberation of humanity. And we're in a much different time back then. All the pyramids that we can still go to this day, and I remember you had a whole trip that you took out there to ancient Egypt, to pyramids of Giza, and you got to see inside, how they were using those chambers, for
I brought my scalers in my bag.
yeah, the sound chambers that you can essentially go into, and then they would basically be able to, any type of disease, like remove that from somebody. And then also using the pyramids as antennas or energy conductors, that could go and harness that life force from Mother Nature, and then expand the grid out so that the collective consciousness will be risen to the highest level, and all the human potential would be fully harnessed, and people were having all of their cities, or supernatural abilities of telepathy, telekinesis, pyrokinesis, like weather shamanism. All of these abilities were fully heightened and activated. So I'm just saying all that to say that we can use these tools, like with the scalar energy tools, and all of the other different types of ways of just tapping in with our sound, and coming to bring that all together for the next shift of humanity's awakening, and showing people that we can actually harness those same abilities that the ancients were using many thousands of years ago. but just reviving them into a modern light, you know.
I want to say something.
Yeah, please.
I want to say you mentioned like pyramids and how to harness the energies and stuff, and how like just to point out how out of touch like society is. I heard we built a pyramid in the United States or somewhere.
There's a bunch of pyramids in the United States.
Yeah, like we built like a modern day pyramid
Yeah.
and turned it into a Bass Pro Shop.
Mhm.
Bass Pro Shop, bro. We could have, at least created some kind of like something like that on a large scale,
Mhm.
with the Bass Pro Shop. Let's go fishing.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing, you know.
I'm not gonna lie. Bass Pro Shop is one of my favorite stores to go to because I'm like an outdoors type of person.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like Disney World for me, bro.
Yeah. Of course.
Shout out the Luxor Hotel in Vegas. That's a dope pyramid as well. But here, I think it was almost 2 years ago. 2 years ago, they found Mayan pyramids not too far off the coast. I think they're still working on paperwork to get over there because technically it's a private area. But they sent a thermal drone over there,
Mhm.
and you literally see the whole shape of it's obviously a Mayan pyramid. So the Mayans definitely traveled over here. I feel like back then you can even find ancient artifacts in Egypt and the Grand Canyon and stuff like that. So we definitely were more traveling. If anything, at the end of the day, the world used to be a Pangea. So that knowledge, the farther you go back then, the more they were encouraging traveling. If
I
anything.
feel like they weren't just traveling by foot either, but they had some kind of energetic device that they
Teleportation.
put them. Yeah, probably even as far. Well, to this day, they still have teleportation,
Mhm.
and I can only bring people to where I've been, so I can't teach you how to teleport. Can't teach you how to expand your toroidal field extremely far and wide and experience cosmic bliss. But if someone knows how to teach one to teleport, that would be a very, very useful skill. You ever seen those pictures that they have on the pyramids, or maybe on the pyramids, but some of the walls where it's like it looks like they're kind of like folded into a little rocket ship, and there's like this. Do you know they're like the person's like folded up,
Oh, I think
and then it's like
hieroglyphs.
yeah, as in a hieroglyph. Yeah. I always thought that was really cool, and I could just imagine everyone flying around, just like snapping. You know Dragon Ball, of course. Nubis, just like that's what I see when I see those. And yeah, I think the one last thing that definitely came up while you were speaking is that the power of the grid is very, very unique, and I think that like you've just expanded my minds because I'm more aware of and practiced in like as so within. I haven't thought about so without as much. Like, yeah, no, I have this thing, I have one of those things, but it's not like that's not my bread and butter. What's really transformed me was just simply inner awareness and vipassana, just like seeing what's really there and body scanning just for hours, just like sending magnetism through my body, expanding the field, slowing the breath, stopping the breath, and just thinking about like how there's so many great people like all you guys, and you guys are all thinking about charging the whole like they're not just your own internal system, but y'all are charging and gridding the whole system. So that's definitely something I'd like to learn more about. And I know I touched your device that you had, and there was, like I was saying earlier with this thing, there's a tangible, not that one. You had this other one that was an actual panel. It was like a copper panel that was plugged in, and it was
Oh, the scalar plate.
yeah. So that thing, more so than this, but this as well. You could tangibly feel, like I feel that, but that thing that you had, I certainly felt that was powerful. So, what would you say from a novice? What, if you wouldn't mind, maybe just like breaking down to someone who's like kind of ignorant? I would say, what would you tell a beginner about how these things work?
That's such a great question, and I would love to just give a brief explanation as well, because these technologies have, like we said, have been around since the beginning of time, and what they essentially do is they're just conductors of energy, right? And so Nikola Tesla was one of the first people that kind of was able to harness the power of scalar energy by creating wireless electricity for people. And he was able to essentially harness the abilities of the ether, that just by studying as well what the ancients had been doing in ancient Egypt for thousands of years. And then we had people, like Albert Einstein as well, that were able to use that to create the theories of relativity that helped create the atom bomb and, harness that nuclear energy. And so, these tools that we have right here are just shining examples on what we can actually achieve, in terms of bringing free energy back to the world, and that's honestly, I feel like that's the number one solution to solve all of the world's crises that we see today. And whoever can, get closest to um, creating that free energy is going to be the person that, changes the whole world. And right now, I feel like Elon Musk is just like someone that has really shown the what that can actually do with the company Tesla that he created. And the name Tesla, like I feel like he really was able to understand that, and he wants to give that to the world, but he's doing it in his own pace, through just whatever humanity's able to understand at this current time, but like even people like, I just want to was shout out like Slim Sperling, who was like the first inventor of the light life tools, that basically was able to show, that by creating, these conductors with copper, and then, the sacred geometric shapes that come about from it, that like he was able to find exactly what the correct ratios, the phi qubits and certain ratios that were needed, in order to create these effects that can actually conduct that energy and expand it out, into the world. And then he had done some studies with these harmonizers as well. Like there was one very interesting study where he had collected a huge amount of these harmonizers that he had built, just the most advanced ones that he could, and then drove it around Colorado. And they had basically found that within a day, that it was on the news the next day, that Colorado went from being the most highly polluted city in America to being like the least polluted city. And it was all over the news, but this was something that was highly suppressed and you're not really going to read much about, and so that is just one of the examples of what this can do to reverse the pollution. And finally, just to end it off, I want to just say that there's also with water technology as well that we can do this. And I want to give a shout out to Randy Hatton, the creator of Vibrant Vital Water, that showed how we can take these tools from Mother Nature, and we can actually, just by learning how to use these sacred geometric principles and reviving these ancient Lemurian, and ancient Egyptian, technologies, that we can actually reverse the pollution in terms of the waters as well, which is so critical, when it comes to how we can, actually create viable solutions for the planet, that will help us sustain life for many generations to come. So I just wanted to say all that to say like that everything I do and everything that we share here with all of these tools is to help people realize, that there is a very much needed new approach, in terms of how we live a more regenerative lifestyle, and that these are all just beacons to show of how we can do that. Yeah.
Wow, yeah, that's awesome. And I love what you said about Elon. That's interesting thought.
Yeah.
I hope you're right.
Yeah, with the cyborgs as well that he's creating. This is one, I'm sorry, just one last final point, because he's got the Tesla bots that are coming out, within the next 5 years, that essentially are only going to cost like $30,000, and that could be the rise of what we see with in the movie iRobots. But like I said, it's all about programming it with that intention of a regenerative world, and if we actually program these AI systems with that same intention of creating a more regenerative world, then we'll actually have the greatest utopian society ever, which is what Elon envisions, to where no one will actually have to work anymore, and we'll actually be able to fully harness our creative abilities fully, so it's a double-sided coin. It's a double-edged sword is what I meant to say, but it's all about how we program it. So yeah.
So if I'm bedridden and I'm paralyzed and 15 years sitting in a box and then finally a technology comes around where I can maybe be in a cafe, so I'll have new people to talk to every day. I'm not alone, quote unquote, anymore in a hospital on my deathbed,
Hmm.
and I can converse with people from all walks of life, and I can have like a live video feed and a robot, and that's actually happening in a
Hmm.
cafe right now.
Yeah.
So going back to the intention, it's all about how you use it. I can take my bike and ride from point A to point B, or I can take my bike and hit someone up the
Hmm.
head. It's simple like that, and I think that's a practical way of moving forward in the future, and regardless of what technology comes around, you know.
Absolutely.
It's also just like Earth. I can take a rock and hit somebody with the rock, or use it to shave my didgeridoo or a knife or something. So it all comes back to the intention, and that's very important. And things like that are don't have the same 5 fingers as you, the same 2 feet as you, the same 2 lungs as you. If you have that right now, these are giving people who don't have the same opportunities of you in terms of just being a human being another chance of extending the human experience.
Hmm.
And it's the same thing of, hey, I lost an arm, I can get a bionic arm.
Mm.
I know it's not truly my arm, but it's an extension of my intention of what I want to do
Mm.
with that arm.
Mm.
And that's what it comes back to.
Yes, yeah, and the consciousness, the consciousness is what creates that ability for us to actually, harness those different tools and those technologies, and that I'm sorry, I just like really have to just emphasize how important that is, because I want to give a shout out to my school, Maharishi International University. Maharishi put an emphasis on consciousness based education. And if we teach people how to use, these conscious ways of living, and we're using that within all of the different technologies that we have access to, and that we're going to have access to in these upcoming years, in these upcoming cycles, with those tools that will, like with Neuralink, like you said, that will be able to help anyone that's like paralyzed, or anyone that has any different type of disease, or that to actually fully have that ability to walk again, or to you if they had dementia, to actually be able to use that power of their brain again. It's just, it all comes back to the level of consciousness that we're inputting into these systems, and by harnessing that, we'll be able to use all of these technologies that are coming in the future for the greatest good of humanity, and instead of all those doomsday scenarios that are being programmed into us on the daily, with Netflix films, and all of the predictive programming, movies that are out there. We're actually going to be able to create a society that uses its consciousness for the benefit of humanity, and then at that point we'll then be moving from just Homo sapiens to Homo galacticans, to where we're actually able to communicate with other races, or alien races, that are here. They're watching over us, and they're waiting on us, to reaching that level of consciousness, so that we can all work for the greatest good of the entire universe, and that's just the final statement that I really have to add.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
brother. Yeah, it goes back to what I was saying, that AI is getting to the point where we're going to communicate with animals, right?
Yeah.
And hopefully that technology would low key be a seed into, if we do start to interact with other galactic families, of
Hmm.
course, then that technology can be used in some way in that regard. But looking back at our ancestors and our family members in general, we have elders that have been communicating with star people from beyond this space. The Dogon people are a great example, who showed the Western world where Series B was, and it took them 20 plus years to figure out, oh, the Dogons were right all this time. And the Dogons are the same people that are quote unquote communicating and channeling with aliens, and also the stargazers, that is part of a particular tribe in Africa. I think it's over 100 plus years without fail. They'll send one of the, I think there's 12 seers. They'll send one seeker, one of the 12 out of the 12, every night without fail to go up in the mountain and watch the mountain all day, 24/7, and they'll take turns going back down. And they've been doing that for like hundreds of years. And these are the same people that will talk about aliens and all types of stuff. So I think going back to the whole AI thing is just one big circle, just recycling itself in terms of the just how everything is just playing out, all connected.
Truly.
Guardians of the Galaxy, Star Wars, all these films were actually, programming us, but they were actually tapping into that knowledge, that had been around from thousands of years ago to show us, like what you said with the Dogon tribes, that they were showing us, what's going to be happening in the future to where, we're going to be having to be responsible for the entire universe, and that movie, Guardians of the Galaxy really just shows that, that there is so much more at stake than we realize, and so that point is just so important to emphasize. And I know that you had a point that you wanted to make as well, right?
Yeah, you're just tapping into that AI animal communication. Is so interesting. I don't know, you're probably familiar with Dr. John Lilly. Dr. John Lilly, he did a lot of research with dolphins, and actually communicating with dolphins. But it would have been phenomenal to see what he could have done now, with his research and what he was doing. But the interesting thing is that, like the Credo Mutwa, right? He was the Sangoma shaman from South Africa, right? He talks about how the ancient ones from the stars were actually the dolphin, and they're below us in the ocean. So aliens are actually in the deep.
They are.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
right.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that if when we can communicate, not if, but when we communicate with dolphins, we will be speaking with our star ancestors. They're around for so much longer than humans, and they came from the stars as well. So they have their own story to tell, and they communicate with us. Like when women are birthing in the ocean, the dolphins will come around, and like send like sonar frequencies into the womb as the woman is giving birth. So it's a higher level consciousness that we think, we're like the highest intellectual beings on earth, but it's actually the whales and the dolphins. You know what I'm saying? Like, so when we break that code and we can start talking to whales and dolphins, which we don't even need AI for, we just need the guidance of our ancestors, the plant teachers, and we need to tune into our own, ability to communicate with nature around us.
That's what AI is pointing to. Like,
Yeah.
hey.
And what do dolphins use to communicate with? It's
Sonic
sonic, scanning.
Yeah.
And
dolphin is just in birth.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
That I can hit the dolphin noise.
So it all comes back to that point of just like harnessing the ability of sound, with the solar or sonic scanning, that, they can communicate through miles and miles and miles of radius away, dolphins. And, that we as humans, once we are able to unlock those same abilities, then, we'll actually be able to surpass even the need for human language, and
back to,
yeah, exactly.
doesn't that sound almost like the dolphins? Oh, snap.
Yeah.
And that's the oldest language.
It clicks.
Oh,
Yeah.
snap. There it is. There it is. And that's the oldest language.
Yeah.
I love it. Like similar to the dolphins sending their sonar waves and the vibrations sending transmissions of thought. I'm sure that probably everyone here has experienced some form of, you may call it spontaneous or accidental, but it wasn't. You finishing a friend's sentence, wanting to call somebody, and then they call you. These are all types of communication. If you've ever like been in a relationship with someone that you feel like very, very connected to them on a level that doesn't seem ordinary, Oftentimes you'll know. Actually, we just did it. We've done it multiple times actually this last couple of days where we like go to do the same thing at the same time because we're just like sending each other the signals and the information telepathically without having it dialed in yet. Well, at least me personally, where I could like say sentences to you internally where you know everything that I'm saying. But I think like with that attunement and that alignment between a bunch of different mirrors, it's AKA a bunch of people that are aligned and harmonizing with one another. It can become really easy and like effortless to not even necessarily need words. Like you can just send the vibrations of intention, and that would be wonderful one day to also be able to tell stories that way rather than just give impulses of information.
I always say that breath itself is language, right? Beyond communication. Like when I play the didge, I'm always having a word of intention as I'm playing it most of the time. And I also feel like we're, at least back then, we were so in tune with the atmosphere. Like you could go sit down next to a mushroom and you don't have to eat the mushroom. You just inhale the spores or whatever and you go on your journey that way. And the same thing, the aspect of spores could be, and the same thing, the aspect of breath, because we're getting to the point where you can use certain tech, blow into it, and it'll tell you your calories and stuff like that. Yeah, it's called acetone. So breath has information. So the wind, when the wind touches your skin, to me, technically, that's my own exhale coming back to me. With information. So like we are communicating in so many different ways. I think 90% of communication is nonverbal, and the rest is like body language as well. And I think also breath language plays a huge thing that fuels the body regardless. So the breath pattern influence the body pattern, and the mirror neurons sends out that signals. In the CIA, they have something called mirror breathing where they'll match a person's breathing, and if they're in a situation where somebody comes up to them and they're frantic, they'll just match their breathing and get the other person to like calm down and slow down without even saying a word. And they're trained. This is CIA people. They're trained to do that because they understand the aspect of mirror neurons.
Yes. Yeah, and there was even Project Stargate and Project Bluebeam, that the CIA did, that they can actually show people with like remote viewing. Like they were training people to learn how to do remote viewing, and basically had used that for psychic spies that they were creating. But that demonstrates and shows that we all have those abilities within ourselves, and if we're able to fully harness that, then the implications of that, instead of having to use it for war, we can use it for peace and love, and bringing the world back, into that full state of, coherence, where going back again to that point of just transcending human language, and then we'll return back into that state where what we had in ancient Lemuria or in Atlantis, where they were not using the English language or any of these other languages. Like they actually, if you look at the facial structures of ancient Lemurians and Atlanteans, they didn't even have mouths because they were using that that sonic programming the same as the dolphins did, and yeah, and this is a huge key right here, because if you look at there was a book that was written about this. It's Where Do We Come From? That's the name of the book, and I can't remember the exact author's name right now, but he looked at all of these different ancient structures that were built with Tibetan monasteries, and then they had the face of the Lemurians that were on there, and he was the one that helped first discover what that actually is, and basically showed that they were actually the Tibetans, and they were gatekeeping this knowledge from humanity, because they wanted people to see how they could tap into that for themselves. But if they were truly dissecting those religions, and they were truly seeing what that was actually telling them, it was actually to help them discover that these abilities of what the Atlanteans and Lemurians were doing is something that we can all have access to, so I just had to emphasize that point because this is what we're coming back into the remembrance of.
Yeah, and it really just boils back down to the language of the breath, because there's levels to this, of course. I'm
Yeah.
sure some people are able to like transmit sentences across rooms or galaxies clear as day to any listener, not like even an attuned listener, but to any listener. But the one thing, like Devon was saying, is that the breath, when somebody is frantic, they'll get you to come and take a slow full breath with them, and just the simplicity of the communication through the breath is just one thing that's been so profound in my journey of healing and expanding out of suffering. And I think that that's something really wanted to hit home on, is how powerful, if you just go and look at an angry person. I didn't make this up, somebody showed me this. If you go and look at an angry person, what's their breath look like? Or like a depressed person often would be like breathing out, shallow and shallow breath, and then like a surprised person, wow, or somebody's looking over mountains. It's like, and
Wait, say it again. No, yeah, I'm not sure.
But yeah, I guess what I'm saying here is that that language of the breath is just so amazing. And I think that as my journey continues and as my intentions are to be able to connect to even higher and higher and more, I don't know the word, maybe like attuned, or I don't want to say complex because it's really just getting simpler. I'd like to be even a more clear mirror that's able to send thoughts through my sonar waves with my breath. And I think that's where we're heading. And as we continue to, with reverence, practice and be curious and have discussions like these, I think that the inevitable is to occur, that all of the goodness of the world is going to continue to like keep blossoming through all of our hearts.
Yes. And the Kali Yuga cycle, I have to just emphasize that point. Like with the Kali Yuga cycle, that we're entering into a new age, like the golden age, and that this is, this was what was talked about in the Tibetans, in the Buddhist traditions, that we have these Kali Yuga cycles that happen every 12,000 or so years, and that we're now entering into a new precipice where a lot of the technologies that were suppressed and lost through like the Great Flood and these different happenings or these different events that happened throughout humanity's history, it's now actually coming back into a full circle, and that the nature of life is circular in motion, and that it's not like a linear progression, but it's like a circular motion of a spiral. Exactly, yes. And that we're coming back into the complete cycle of humanity's awakening, into all of these abilities. So
you see it in our fascia, you see it in the smoke, the spiral from our big toe all the way whoosh, 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 the spiral of the waves and vibrations spiraling from the sounds, the breath spiraling into the nose, the thoughts spiraling into the field that surrounds us, and our torus spiraling, toroidal field spiraling from our central line. It's like the constant spiral. And I forget, is it the Fibonacci spiral?
Yeah, the Fibonacci spiral, yes.
Yeah. So there's that, the seashells and all of that. And
golden ratio.
Yeah, and it goes back to what you were saying about the taking it even a step back with the ley lines. So as within, so without. I'm sure that somehow with the copper electricity and the gridding of the planet, something just came to me. Oh yeah, here's spiral. So like somehow you're making a more intentional spiral through
toroidal field.
A
toroidal field, that exists within our bodies. We each have our own aura that is created, and this is actually also found in the atoms, on the smallest scales, the Planck scales that were discovered, and then all the way up to the largest scales as well. Like this is the structure of the universe itself, is a torus field, and the Earth as well. It's And that's why if you go journeying into the center of the earth, who knows what's in the center? Like they tell us that it's just like, basically like this
lava.
Shambhala, that's exactly what they say, and the Sophia Codes is a book that kind of goes into this as well.
That's a good one.
Yeah, the Sophia Codes, because they show you that, that we've been this has been hidden from humanity, and Antarctica as well is like another place that like, oh, they're just, doing that, no humans can exist out there, but really they're, yeah, like the Arctic cycle, the Arctic, the North Poles and the South Poles, in the planet, that like basically once you are able to go there, or if you're able to go there, you would actually have access into what they call the Garden of Eden, and yeah, this is
I'm not laughing because I think that that's bogus. I'm laughing because that very well could be true.
Oh no,
it is. Yeah.
I don't know the whole process behind this, but you can literally Google. You know how you can track flights, right?
Yeah.
You can also track ships.
Yes.
Look where the ships are going around in Antarctica. Apparently, there's one particular island that's on Google Maps too, and it's like literally at the edge, and a lot of ships from all over the world for some reason goes to that one spot, and some people are speculating that one spot is like the gateway to the rest of it.
Yes.
Or it meaning, if you look at the reflection of the moon, you see the whole map of the world as we know, but there's even more territory on the other side. So what is that?
Territory is not the map. It's the I left.
Oof.
Congo.
Yeah.
And this discovery right here, once this gets out to the rest of the world, is going to actually be what helps usher in that great awakening as well. That's why I just brought all of this up, because we're going to see this being uncovered more and more in our mainstream media, because there are many different black box projects that are going on in Antarctica right now, that we're just not hearing about, but they're actually on the CIA's government website, that they're doing experiments in Antarctica, or I'm sorry, they're doing experiments, but they're also like exploring like what is on the other side of that, and there's like a whole remapping of the globe, like, and our understanding of it is completely distorted.
Every country has their own Antarctica.
Yeah,
that doesn't make any sense to me.
Ice walls.
Yeah. Everyone got their own. And apparently it's not on like the real map. Antarctica is not really like on the real map. You have to have certain coordinates of how to fly. Or the map isn't real, because like 2 years ago we're just finding new territory. We don't have like the full map. It's not that it's not real. We just don't have the full map. Why are we still finding new territory in 2024? Why?
Yeah, there's a lot of whys to that one. Probably infinite ones. And I love being able to just embrace my ignorance sometimes, and just accept that I don't know conclusively, but I surely do feel as though that you guys and other people who I've listened to and watched rabbit holes on YouTube and stuff, y'all might be onto something. There might be a way to go into the center of the earth from there.
Nothing.
But at the same time, maybe not, but maybe, it might be. I love it.
I mean, they tried to do it with that Titanic thing, and they imploded.
Oh, man. Really?
The implosion.
I don't know. I thought that was a terrorist attack, but who knows? I don't know.
Yeah.
No, like the 3 billionaires.
Yeah.
No, that is a real story.
I think so. Yeah, implosion. Yeah. Implosion with the Titanic. How that was like 9/11-ish.
Right. That's what I thought.
No, I mean the implosion of the submarine.
Yeah.
Going down.
Oh.
Yeah, bro.
Oh, yeah. No. It got because it implosion instead of explosion. It went in.
Input.
Yeah, because all the air pressure. That makes sense.
I thought if I said implosion, y'all knew it was the submarine. So
but these billionaires, I believe that they're actually creating technologies, that are going to be able to go and journey in instead of, exploding like what we just saw, or like what you guys just described there, that they're creating technologies that will be able to go into these different places, yeah, even deeper into the Earth's core. And then, no matter what happens with humanity, if things go good or bad, like they'll have a place there that's like completely safe, essentially.
At
And
what point is enough
Deeper.
information, or is it just a constant new information? We'll never see all of like outer space, like the infinite space that there is, and there's like infinite amount of like things, like, and is it for us to know that? And like, how would it benefit us to know it? I mean, it would benefit us probably, but yeah.
I think this goes back to Bruce Lee when he talks about take what useful and discard the rest,
Yeah.
right? Because there's infinite amounts of knowledge, and I know I could have went even deeper in the rabbit hole and not be here, but I'm here. And I think that's important, realizing that the internal journey, always asking yourself, like, who am I? That's the number one important question of them all in terms of knowledge and information, right? Like, who am I?
Yeah.
Beyond egos and names, etc. Who am I? And that will always be the most important knowledge for anyone, and yourself.
Exactly. And that's the only reason why I was like bringing up all these different topics, because, a lot of these different billionaires and people that are living for the material worlds, that are thinking in terms of all of that, it's kind of just like they're thinking in terms of materialism, when like the truth of reality is that we can't actually take any of this with us when we die. The only thing that we take with us is our experiences that we've had throughout our lives, and the impact that we've been able to create with them, and just by being able to create the largest impact possible by giving just even these ideas out there into the universe of what is possible, and showing people how they can just access these deeper layers within themselves, then that is what will give us a full scope of human potential, of what can be unlocked, and who knows whether all these things are going to come true or not, but like that human potential to be fully harnessed, is the greatest thing that we can possibly focus on,
Who am I?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
I am, and I am, I am, I am, I am. Yo, yeah. Oh, yeah, we can. Yeah, we can. I think like the closing statements, since I didn't hear what you just were last talking about, except the big I am presence. Thank you all. If you've literally watched from start to finish this, you are a sacred G made of the OD and the GREAT-ness, the greatness that we're all made of. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, man.
Yung Wylin, check him on all platforms. Black Airbender, Devon, my guy. I'm so excited to continue to stalk all of your really cool breath dojos. You're the man. David, Juices, you already know. I love you, bro. Thank you. Ankara, thank you so much for your magical medicine. We got Ryan, we got everybody here. Yeah, all of you guys. You guys are great. Cosmic Keymaker on Instagram. I'm going to tag everybody in all of it. Nature herself. Yeah, so I think just to close it up, usually we close these off with just a simple, nice smile and breath in. And then a nice slow exhale. And then we'll do what Devon did last time. We'll breathe in and look up. And then we can... And just 3, Peace out.